Welcome to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio hour and podcast. I'm your host, life coach Myrna Young, and in the guest chair today is Nick Shelton. Nick is the author of An Introvert's Guide to World Domination, Becoming a High-Level Networking, and Upgrade Your Life. And today, Nick and I are going to be talking on the topic, can introverts be successful networkers? So I know that I'm a full-blown extrovert, so I'm going to learn quite a few things today about the world of the introvert. And Nick is going to be talking on the topic networking because we all know as introverts, not I should know, but we know that introverts have a hard time in situations where there's new people and, they have to be outgoing. So we're going to be shedding some light, and Nick is going to give us some steps in order to bypass that. So welcome, Nick.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. It's an honor and a pleasure.
You're very welcome. Now, I'm calling you Nick, but you prefer Nicholas or Nick?
Nick is good. We'll use Nick. I like that.
All right. Yes. All right. So I started with Nick, so I'm going to continue with Nick. All right, so let me give you a little bit more information on Nick. Nick Shelton, the connected introvert, that's his tag, has been fine-tuning the craft of effective, high-level social strategy and networking for 20 years. Beginning with his time in the United Air Force, Nick learned skills that were indispensable to his journey. Coupled with extensive research and 15 years of experience in the oil and gas industry, Nick finally cracked the code and developed tools that give him the confidence to flourish in social situations. Nick has successfully built a strong international network of friends, colleagues, and associates, and continues to teach introverts how to upgrade their lives and lifestyle and navigate social events with ease. Yes. This show is about education. This show is about, talking about the topics that can make your life better. And I've actually never had this topic on the show, and I've been like 5 years into it. So, So this is a welcome change, new content, fresh blood. So Nick, the first question I have here is, tell our listeners and those watching on YouTube, hey. Your journey as an introvert.
Okay, well, it started really early, like it does for most people. So as a kid, I was really shy. And you don't necessarily have to be shy to be an introvert. But I was shy, socially awkward. I would only talk to one person. So I'd pick one person and I'd just talk to them. So as a kid, if there's a group of kids, I would say, okay, I'm going to talk to that one, and then I wouldn't talk to anyone else. So when our family moved from Texas to Colorado, I was in the second grade, I started a new school, and the teachers, since I only talked to one person, for some reason, they didn't know I could talk. I don't think that this would happen in this modern day, but at the time, they put me in the hearing impaired kid class because they
You're kidding me.
Yeah, so
that is funny.
It was actually really cool because there was only 4 of us in there, and we didn't have to talk. So we got along.
Talking
great.
about catering to your weaknesses. My goodness, yes.
Right. And so I was learning sign language. I was making some friends. We're playing games. And then when my mother found out, she said, "No, he can hear. Put him back." So they kicked me back out into general population with all the other kids. So, I had to survive out there with the regular kids, and that was really tough. And so, going from that to, say, middle school and then high school, where I was I know that a lot of people have troubles fitting in and finding their place in high school. That's like a normal thing. But when you are introverted, shy, and socially awkward, it makes it even harder. And so trying to communicate, trying to be seen, trying to have my voice. It was really difficult. And so I thought, oh, one day, if I just make some money or something, then everything will be fine. So I did end up, I went to college, but, and in college also. So I ended up making a little bit of money. I was the same guy, I just had nicer stuff. So that didn't do it. Then I said, I'll just drink, If I do a lot of drinking, then that will do it. But what happens is then you're just this drunk person walking around all the time. You have to be drunk.
But hang on, did that cure your introversion? Did that give you boldness?
It did, but then I would forget what I did and people that I've met. So then people would say, hey, it was nice meeting you the other day. And I'd say, I have no idea who you are.
All right. Oh my goodness. Yes.
And plus you don't want to just have to be
No, I understand, but I'm just wondering if it worked.
it helped up to a certain point, and then it didn't really help anymore.
Right.
So I went into the military. I learned a lot of good structure and how to break complicated things down into simple steps. And then after that, you always hear about people not transitioning well back into civilian life, and I was one of those people. I didn't get back into the swing of things really well, and a lot of things happened. So I was engaged, I lost my fiance, I declared bankruptcy, I lost all my money, and then I was working as a security guard, an armed security guard at the hospital, and I was really depressed. And, if you're a security guard,
But that's a perfect job for an introvert though, right? You don't
That's
talk to
true.
anybody.
That is true. Yes. But people, you don't get any respect. People go out of their way to disrespect you as the security guard. You hear all the Rid-a-Cop stuff. Oh, you couldn't pass the police test and all that. And I was like, no, I never wanted to be a cop.
All right.
It was just all of this horrible stuff. So I'd reached this point, like the breaking point, where I'd said, well, my life, I wanted it to be a certain way, and I completely went off in a different direction. And, I don't really see a solution. So I said, well, I think I'll take my life, right? Ooh. But that night that I decided to do that, I heard a voice in my head. It was very clear, and it said, no one's coming to save you. You have to save your own life. And so I sat there and I said, well, I have to listen to this, and it makes sense, but how do I do that? And then I realized, hey, I know the steps. Like, so you always hear about, your network is your net worth. You're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time around, and they say, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And I learned, hey, this social circle that I'm around, it's not the right circle for what I'm trying to do. I want to be around people that have, done the things that I'm aspiring to do, so then I can pick up some mentors, and I can be around people that bring out the best in me, that push me to be my best. And I wasn't doing that.
That's a good plan, right? Yeah.
So I said, I know how to do that. So all I need to do is, come up with the right strategy in order to move my life in that direction. So I made that decision, and I started doing that. And then it started working. And then people around me said, hey, how do you do that? Hey, tell me, I got some stuff that I want to do. How do I do that? And then so that helped really get the momentum going down this path. And here I am years later with the strong international network, friends all around the world, high level events, get to live the life of my dreams pretty much. And it all started down that rocky journey. And, so this passion, it pretty much found me instead of me finding it. And here we are.
That's an amazing story. And I can tell by the way you delivered it, that if you're still an introvert, you have found a way to work with it, because you delivered that with humor. So that was good. I'm like watching for signs of introversion and I don't see any, but that's great. So while you were talking, I had a couple of questions pop in my head. You answered one, but I still want to circle back for those that are listening. You got engaged. right? So how does you told me you picked one friend and you weren't talking to people or whatever. How did you muster up the courage to ask a girl out and date?
Right. Well, it was a long journey in trying to, get to that level. But when I started doing that, because I started putting some pieces together, and I had I met a girl through an acquaintance, and she was around all the time, and so it's
Okay.
not like she was just walking down the street, or I was at a club dancing and I went up and talked to her. She was
I
around,
got it.
and so
Okay.
I had to talk to her anyway. And
Okay. All right.
so
So,
I said in my mind, I'm going to marry that girl, and hey, I almost did. I came
okay.
pretty close, and
Okay. All
so
right.
it
Well, that makes sense. All right. That makes sense. All right. So that was the one question I had. The
was a good
second
question.
question is when you decided that you were going to change your circle of friends, that the people you're hanging around with is not conducive to you becoming a social person. Um, how did you find the right group?
Right. Okay. So, and also, I don't want people to think that I just completely abandoned everyone and said, I'm not
Oh,
talking to anyone. I
oh, all right.
still, still kept in touch with everybody, but, I tried to shift my focus more toward people that I thought would be of, help my cause. And so that is one of the things that we're going to get into, which is I looked for groups of people that so, for example, that I thought that it would be good to be around. How did I get to be around them? I would find they have these meetup groups, and
Okay.
so and it wouldn't just be successful people meetup group. It was, you had to find something that you'd say, well, what interesting people would be at, say, an antique car auction? Who would go to that? I'm sure somebody pretty interesting would be at something like that. So now I have to look into that and make sure that I get there so I can be around those people and just be in their orbit, just be around them, and then kind of observe, see how everyone's carrying themselves, how they're conducting themselves, and introduce myself to some people. And then if I go to some of these things, I'm going to keep meeting some of the same people because a lot of these things overlap,
Right, right,
and
right.
then I will make some friends. Also, there's uh, in high-end hotels, let's say, anyone can go in to the lobby and have a drink at the hotel bar. There's nobody standing there at the door that's going to be like, hey, where are you going? No, you can go in there. So if you go in there, you can sit there after work. You can go into a high-end hotel, sit at the bar, have a cocktail, talk to the bartender, and then if you do that, once or twice a week, then you'll see some of the same people. You'll get to know some people, and these are the types of people that are hanging out in atmospheres like that.
That is
So
awesome. Yeah,
then,
yeah,
so
yeah.
slowly, and so this is not like a one day later, do you know everybody? It takes
Right,
a little
right.
time, just like relationships. All relationships, they take a little time to build, but it starts off by you initially showing up and just being around and people saying, hey, I recognize you. I've seen you before. And then, it starts the ball rolling.
Well, that's good info. That's good steps. One, yeah, the meetup groups is great because yeah, you go meet up, and I guess that's probably how you started on your networking journey because that's
Yeah.
the meetup. And I used to go sitting in um, uh, the expensive hotel lobbies for a different reason. But that is a good one. Not that I do it very often, but it is one of the things that one of the goals that I have for myself, and that is basically to hang around wealth, to get yourself accustomed to wealth. So you're doing it, to build a network with, influential people, which is
Right.
good too. That is
Yeah.
awesome. All right. Well, I got all my curiosity satisfied with that introduction. So that's awesome. So
Excellent.
we're here to talk about your book. So tell our listeners what inspired you to write the book.
So after I figured out how to network as an introvert. And to answer one of your earlier questions, I am still an introvert. I still like to spend a lot of time alone. I recharge when I'm by myself. But then when I do want to go out and be seen and be heard, I'm able to do that. But once I learned how to do this, then I was invited to do some speaking about it. So I'd go to speaking events, and then people would say, hey, where can we get your book? And I would say, oh, I don't have a book, you know? And then I said, I should probably get a book. And then my brother, you know what, it would be really helpful if you don't have to wait until you're speaking about this somewhere. We can actually just, you know, people can get the book. It's really valuable for a lot of people to get this knowledge. There's a lot of people that can get a lot out of this. Sat down, I knew exactly what I wanted to say. And I sat down and I wrote the book because I wanted to help people that were in similar situations be able to have the steps that they needed to upgrade their lifestyles and really enhance. I think everything in life comes down to your connections and your relationships. And if you can have better connections and relationships, and it doesn't even have to be with, you know, billionaires on yachts, it can just be with your own family, family and close friends, people in the community. And this makes life so much richer, and it's everything. My relationships are everything to me, more than, you know, just trying to have money in the bank. It's those relationships with people, and if you're rich in relationships, you are truly rich, in my opinion. And so I try to help other people do that, and that's why I wrote that book, so more people could have access to this information.
Okay, well, that's awesome. You know, it's when you were talking about steps in meetup groups, one of the first questions that popped into my mind, I didn't ask it, was if you also went to Toastmasters. But then you talked about speaking. Was Toastmasters one of your groups?
So I love talking about Toastmasters. So Toastmasters, I did go to Toastmasters because everybody says, oh, you have to go to Toastmasters. Go to Toastmasters.
Right, exactly.
And then I went to Toastmasters. And I said, I don't really care for this. I don't really like Toastmasters. And then everybody said to me, what are you talking about? You have to like Toastmasters. Everybody likes Toastmasters. And I don't know. It didn't do it for me. So
it didn't do it for you, but you were still able to speak without that training.
Yes.
Good for you.
And I know a lot of people say, well, if you're shy and introverted and socially awkward, how can you do public speaking? And that is because some kind of weird defect in my brain. It allows me to, whenever I do public speaking, I go into it's like I'm dreaming, and you can do anything in your dreams.
You're out of body, right? Yes, right. So you're out of body. So that's great.
But if you just say, hey, go talk to those 4 people over there, then I say, oh, hold on, I don't know. But if you say, hey, there's 100 people sitting, go talk to them. Oh yeah, that's fine.
You're kidding. So, well, that is a word. That's weird wiring. But you know, it's not that I haven't heard it before, because I've heard it before. So this is probably a good segue, because we've been talking about this term, but it's probably good for us to have a definition. So you mentioned 2 of them a minute ago. So how does someone know they're an extrovert? Now we can figure out that, you know, they're shy, but there's more to it to be an introvert. So define that.
So there are levels to this. And so there's some people that are more than others, and there's different categories, I'd say. So generally it's when you get drained by being out and interacting with people, and then you have to recharge by being by yourself.
Right.
And so I fit that category.
Yeah, that's the classic one. Right.
Mm-hmm. Then you can also be shy, and that doesn't necessarily, so you might not necessarily be shy. You might be able to go out and, hey, but then you get drained really fast and you have to retreat and recharge. But I suffered from being shy and, you know, getting drained by being around people, and then the social awkwardness, like you'd say, I don't know what to do and how to even interact with people, you know. So there's different combinations of this, and there's different levels. So one of my closest friends, who has had really great success with some of the techniques I teach, he always makes fun of me because he always tries to compare. He says, "Oh, I'm way more introverted than you are," and I said, "This isn't a competition, you know.
Well, it is.
We're just trying to." But so there's different levels. So there's different things that different people are going to find, so obstacles that you might have. So an obstacle for me might not be an obstacle for my friend, let's say, and then an obstacle for him might not be an obstacle for me. But there's different techniques that we use, and I try to break down all of these things. So in the book, it's not theory. So I don't say, well, a lab rat A did this and lab rat B did this, so I figure in humans it should be like this. No, I actually did this stuff myself through observation and actually going out in the trenches and doing it. And then some of my students, watching them and going through their experiences too, we're actually figuring these things out. This is real world stuff. And so we've been able to apply a lot of these steps to a lot of different, like I mentioned, the levels and the different types of introverts. We've been able to help the whole spectrum with, so not everything is for everybody, but I say at the beginning of the book, pick out the parts that apply to you that you can use, and then what's not helpful right now, just file it away, and then maybe later, once you hit a certain level, maybe that's going to come back to you at a later time.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So that's a good segue into your book. And your book is called An Introvert's Guide to World Domination, Become a High-Level Networking and Upgrade Your Life. So what can someone walk away with after reading your book? When they put it down, what are the skills that you want transferred?
Oh, I love that question. That is really good. So they are going to be able to, first they're going to know what their obstacles are, what their blocks are, identify those so then we can get those out of the way. Then they're going to be able to find social events that appeal to them that can help them achieve whatever goals, because I talk about, find out where you want to be. What is your goal going to be in networking, and what do you want your life and lifestyle to be like? And then from knowing that, we'll find out, well, what sorts of socializing should you be doing? And so we cover the personal stuff, just personal networking. And then we also talk about in the workplace and in the industry that you're in. And so depending on what your goal is, you will have clear steps on what to do in your personal social life and in the workplace and in your industry to level up in all of those areas. And so you'll know exactly how to do that. And then you'll also know if you go to, say, the company holiday party, or if you're just going to hang out, you take your kid to soccer practice and there's going to be a bunch of parents there. You'll know exactly what you need to do to be interesting and interested and engage in conversation. And you'll know how to have your an easy way to have good body language and appear confident, calm, and approachable. And so you'll have that good energy about you. And then you'll be able to also maintain your relationship. So you'll be able to know where to go, what to do when you get there, who to talk to, how to talk to them. And then once you've established the relationship, you'll be able to maintain those relationships, because why build all these relationships if you're not going to maintain them? So you maintain the relationships, and so they'll have this whole spectrum, this whole foundation built, and then all they have to do is just step right into it. I break it down really easy because I know that a lot of introverted people are looking for excuses to not do something. And the thing is that's great about this is I know what you're going to do to try to not do it, because I'm you too. I know what you're going to do. So I put little things in there to make sure that you keep pushing forward. And we've had a lot of really great success from people using these steps. So they come out with actionable steps that they can see results like immediately. So it's not like, well, if you keep working at this for 3 years, maybe you'll get a friend. No, it's immediately.
I
You can
like
go,
that. That is
as
cute.
soon as you put the book down, you will be able to go out and put this into practice immediately, the very first day. Even before you finish the book, you'll be able to go out and start implementing some of these things and see results. And that's what helps that get that momentum going, is if you can see results, then it encourages you to keep moving forward because you're getting those results. You're not just saying, well, it worked for everyone else, but not for me. No, it will work, you know, because and I hate it when people say, if I can do it, then you can do it. Not necessarily. You don't know what I might be really charming or something, you know, naturally. But no, I make sure that it's broken down easy enough that anyone will be able to do these things. All they have to do is just, it's so gradual that, you know, you can jump in really hardcore. You can just take these little baby steps and you're going to see results, and you will get results with this book.
So that's awesome. Now, I want to circle back to something that is one of the questions I had here, but you also kind of touched on it. There's levels of introversion. Are they labels or like types of introversions? And in your book, did you address the levels, or it's once you're introverted and these same steps will work regardless of your spectrum?
Okay. Oh, wow. That's a good question. So I did not break it down in the book like, here's this certain type, here's this certain type. If you're type A, then you do this. If you're type B, then you do this. I just say, hey, everybody, listen up. No matter where you are on this spectrum, just start here and work your way through these steps. And some steps will be easier and some steps will be harder depending on where you are on that spectrum. But I just tried to make it as simple as possible so people say, well, I'm kind of like this, but then I'm kind of like this. No, it's just hop in at the beginning and just work your way through.
To the end, right?
Yeah.
So that is great. But so are they, I mean, I think I read somewhere that there's 3 types of introverts. Is there?
I have not read that.
You have not read that? Okay.
Now I'm going to have to look for that. I did see a quiz on, I did see a thing that said 4 types. I don't know how official it is, but then so it's kind of like a social introvert, a thinking introvert, and then there was 2 other types of introverts, but I still kind of lump it all into
introversion.
Hey,
you're
in our gang. You're in our introvert gang, so you're here, and you just work your way through. So no matter where you are, we just
right.
put you through the system.
Right.
But yes,
okay.
I think
So we're focusing here on your book and the social introvert, obviously, if we're going to put a label. I like that. So the social introvert is somebody who doesn't want to, you know, can't talk to people or uncomfortable in social situations. So is that your biggest challenge as an introvert, and that's why you concentrated your book on that? Because I would think that there are some other areas, being an introvert, other than socially, that it might affect you, no?
Right, yeah. So for the social introvert, so there are introverts that aren't really good around people, and they don't want to be. They want to have nothing to do with that. So they'd just rather maybe stay in the science lab or stay in the basement playing video games, and you say, hey, do you want to go to the polo event? And they say, no, I don't want to go to that.
Exactly.
and then
I don't like people.
Right. I do not want to be around anybody. And that's fine. So that is a type. But this is for the type that says, hey, I would like to be able to do that. I just don't know how I could do that because I don't know what to do and I don't know what to say and I don't even know how to get there. But I think it would be cool to be able to do that, just to be able to have those opportunities, because if you never get out there, then all those opportunities and all the possible relationships you might have, or opportunities of be it financial or whatever it may be, you're going to miss out on those. So if you want to be able to level up, this is for that type of introvert that says, hey, I want to, I just don't know how, I don't know the steps. But yes, there are other things. So it also addresses, the main focus of this book is to, level up your life and lifestyle and have access to opportunities. But at the same time, it'll also just help you feel more confident just day to day in your just regular life, whether it just be going to the grocery store, or if you live in an apartment and your neighbors are out on their balcony and you think, well, can I go out on my balcony? Because they're there. Maybe I should wait until they go inside and then I can go.
Wow,
It'll help
wow,
you just
wow.
these things, because what
Yeah.
happens is in these little things, because I remember a memory of mine is being in the grocery store, and if I'm ready to check out, but I'm in the back of the store, I have to get to the front. And if there's somebody in the aisle, then I say, well, I have to find an empty aisle to go down so I don't accidentally engage with any other people
You're kidding
on the way
me.
to the front of the store.
Wow.
Right. And so, but what that is, you're hiding. And so it's not just hiding in the grocery store, it'd be hiding on your balcony, or it'd be hiding, having a conversation with your spouse or your 4-year-old. And if you're hiding in all these little different places, then when it comes to your workplace and when it comes to just any relationships you have, what's that really costing you? It's costing you much more than you can possibly imagine. And it's all these little micro instances of hiding. And if you can just take that little extra step to not do that, it can completely change your life and lifestyle.
Yeah, I can actually see that, because this is a good book. I'm glad that you are, sharing it and publicly and on the radio and podcast, because I can see it being a tool for somebody that is, uncomfortable and want to take the path of least resistance, but they, in the back of their mind, they know that it's costing them something. So here is a little baby steps that you can start taking. And then, you put a plan into action and keep doing things, because it does cost you. I mean, in any situation, you're right. Even in a married situation, I can imagine that an introvert is somebody that's a pleaser because they don't want to make a fuss, right?
Right. Don't want that confrontation.
They don't want to challenge and whatever. So that's pretty good. Now, something that I'm curious about, and it's one of the questions I have here. So we're right now in a pandemic, right? Yeah. So all the networking in-person situations are no longer, and we're like talking on Zoom, and we're in our bedroom and in our house, and we don't have to go out. So is an introvert still bothered by that because they still have to talk? Or is this helping them stay hidden? It's just...
Right. I think this is the best time to be alive ever in the history of the world for introverts, because because I can just hang out. It's because it gives you an excuse. It gives you the excuse there. You're like, hey, I would love to be out, socializing and hobnobbing with everybody, but what can I do? I'm locked down.
Oh my goodness.
So
hide behind your mask.
I better put my mask on. I would love to go and talk, but I can't because, the COVID and everything. And so it's perfect. But here's some things that introverts can do to make the most of this situation. And so one of those things is it's the perfect excuse to strengthen the relationships you already have. So one thing that I do, whether it was COVID or not, but this is the COVID time gives you a perfect excuse to do this. Go through your work email and your personal email, all your contacts, and go through your telephone contacts and see who you haven't touched base with in, say, 3 months, and make a list of those people. And then you don't have to do it all in one day, but every day just contact a few and just say, hey, how are you doing? And COVID gives you a perfect excuse. You can say, hey, how are you doing? How's the family? Are you hanging in there? Has this affected you in any way? And just reach out to them, because, people like it when you touch base with them and see how they're doing.
Right.
And this gives you an excuse to reach out and stay on the top of their mind, and they say, oh yeah, you actually cared to actually check up on me. And so just go through all your contacts, reach out. I like to do like a video call if I can. If I can't do that, then I can just send a video just through one of the messaging apps. You can just record a video because it's more personal if you do a video. If I can't do a video, then a little voice message, and then you know, you can do text and emails too. But I find that video is really great, and I always try to do that. And then, you know, the voice message is also really great. You can also call them, but I'm not going to push my luck thinking people are going to call anybody. But if you're on that level and you feel like calling, then yes, you can call them as well. Or you can do face-to-face if they're around and you can mask up and get out there, then you can swing by and say hello to them that way. But go through your contact list and touch base with everyone you haven't talked to in the last 3 months, and just touch base with them. That strengthens what you currently have. And then this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is getting pre-known. And so with these meetup groups, you can set yourself up so when the COVID thing recedes and we can get back to a kind of a regular life, you'll be in a really great position. So any sort of thing that you're interested in. So for example, I use beekeeping. So you say, hey, what do beekeepers do? And so you can look up beekeeping meetup, and they might not have a meetup going on right now because of the COVID, but there's going to be an online forum, and almost every group has an online forum. And just get in there and see who the movers and shakers are, see who the main voices are, and then kind of piggyback off of them and say, you know, ask a question or say, oh yeah, I agree with that, or what about this? And then kind of make yourself known to those main voices in there by interacting. And it's like you're at home, you can just sit there in your underwear or whatever and do it. No one has to see you. And then later on, when these things thaw out and there is an event, now instead of just showing up at this beekeepers event and you don't know anyone yet to figure it out, you can say, hey, Jim, hey, Sarah, I'm looking forward to seeing you at this event. And then they're going to be looking for you. You're going to be looking for them. So now when you walk in, you have that advantage because you built this kind of a light relationship beforehand. Right? And now all you have to do is just go up and kind of confirm the relationship in person, but you've already done the main heavy lifting right now from just sitting at home, just putting in minimal effort. So you can do this with whatever, and it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be interested in beekeeping or whatever. It can be the type of people that you think would go to something like that. So once again, if it's, say, horse racing or something, I don't know, and say you're not interested in horse racing, but you say, I would like to meet the type of people that are interested in horse racing. Right. So then you can go and get on that online forum, intermingle with them, and then when something does come up in the future, you're already positioned to show up. And you know, you don't have to say, yes, I've been following horse racing for years. No, you just say, hey, I don't know how this works. How does this work? And then there's always someone, they're not going to say, hey, security, get him out, he doesn't know how it works. No, there's someone who wants to educate you. People love telling someone new how something works. So you just say, hey, how does this work? And then they'll say, okay, here's how we come in here, and then this is how this works. And then you're now making friends, and they feel good about themselves because they say, yes, I taught her, I taught him what they know about this thing. Yes, that was me that enlightened them. So it's you strengthen introverts right now, and anyone basically can strengthen the relationships they already have, and then also work on future relationships by getting pre-known in circles that they would like to be a part of once society gets back to normal.
Well, that is good, a strength building exercise for introverts. But that works for anybody because networking is important for anyone. So I think what you've said is you know, anyone across the board can do that. And that's good. I'm also going to do that. You know, I'm a realtor. I'm going to borrow that to touch base with my clients and just keep up the networking, because that's what we're doing. Social networks, you know, you're keeping up the social connections to people. And that's a good strategy. you're using it to help the introvert, strengthen um, uh, their skills to contacting people and reaching out and getting rid of the fear. But for someone that doesn't have the fear, it's also good to show people that you care about them, and people like that. And if a realtor were to do that, then maybe when someone is going to sell their house, they're going to say, yeah, you know what, Myrna called me to see how I was doing. You know what I mean? And it helps. So it works for both, whether you're introvert, extroverted, or what. It's good network building, and that's basically what your book covers. If we were to take your word for it, become a high-level networker, upgrade your life, right? Yes. Introverts and extroverts can be a high-level networker.
Yes, I've had a lot of students that were realtors, and they were not introverts, and they just wanted an edge over their competition, and so they used some of these techniques just to get that edge, and they had really good success with it just by saying, hey, what are the clients of mine, where would they be? And then they use these techniques to get to where those people are and build those relationships. So then when someone's interested in buying or selling or referrals, they think of them.
Yeah, I saw it right away, when you talked about the networking, what you're doing right now in the pandemic. I recognize that it is something that you can use across the board, whether you're introverted or extroverted. And of course, being a realtor, I recognize that it's a powerful strategy for realtors. So I'm glad that that you have realtor clients that are using your strategies.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. All right. Well, we're about to wrap up. So how can our listeners find out more about you and your speaking, and you said you have clients, so you're probably coaching, and also where they can get your book?
All right. So the book, they can go to Amazon.com and type in An Introvert's Guide to World Domination, and it'll pop right up there. And I'd be really happy if they did that, or if they know somebody who could use it. Hey, books make great gifts, or refer them. Holidays are coming up. Right. And then to find out more about me and what I do and how I help people, connectedintrovert.com. So connectedintrovert.com. I have a online course on there. I have a mentorship program, and we also just have a lot of, there's a free mini masterclass on there that you can check out. So there's all kinds of little tips that we give people to help them get that edge and be able to upgrade their lives. And what's really cool about it also is when I help people upgrade their lives and connect with people better, they're part of my network. They become part of my network, and then my network is growing too. So people say, well, why are you doing this? Well, it helps me and it helps them. And so my relationships are better, they grow, and it grows through helping people with their relationships and growing their networks. So everybody.
Do you practice the steps that you just talked about, calling people up during the pandemic? Do you do that?
I do it every day. Every day. I practice what I preach. I actually use
Good for you. Good for you.
Right, I want to be out there just in case there's some kind of adjustment that needs to be made. I'm always trying to make sure that everything is the latest information and up to date. So if there's some kind of adjustment, then I say, oh, okay, let's add this to this technique. Or maybe I might find myself in a situation where I say, I've never seen this before. What do you do here? And then I figure it out, so then I can tell people, okay, here's a new situation if this happens. And I also tell my students, if you come across something that we've never heard of before, please let me know and we'll figure it out. We'll put ourselves in that situation and we will figure out what to do.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Good talking. So, so you can get hold of Nick at connectedintrovert.com. But if you're a regular listener to the show, you know that I have the show page, which is blog.myhelps.us. And on the show page, I will have a transcript of my interview with Nick. And of course, there'll be links to his book on Amazon and also to his website. So if you don't remember anything, just remember blog.myhelps.us, where you can go and revisit some of the things that Nick talked about, as well as get the link to his book and his website. So yeah, Nick, so that was great. We ended strong because I love that last tip that you did. I like that last tip. And I know that, you know, being a coach myself, I'm a life coach, being a coach myself, I can tell that, you know, having tools to upgrade your life, as you call it, you know, it's right in the title of your book, having tools to upgrade your life, or my tagline is live your best life now. You don't want to be living hiding. You don't want to be living in lack. You don't want to be living not being your best self. And a lot of times you have to challenge yourself in order to get there. It doesn't always come easy. You got to be uncomfortable, right? And you get uncomfortable, like, you know, if you're watching on YouTube right now, you're seeing that Nick is very comfortable. I mean, I'm getting the opinion that he's comfortable. You know, he's smiling, he's projecting, he's whatever. And I'm pretty sure that it's been a process. You know, he's no longer the, you know, the kid in middle school that people thought were deaf or elementary school. I wasn't quite sure that, you know, the teachers think he was deaf because he didn't talk, or he just spoke to the one person and he wouldn't say a word because he was so shy. There's a process that you go through to become your best self. And he's obviously there right now. Yeah, he's still an introvert because after this conversation, he'll probably be drained. And but regardless, you know, nobody needs to know what you do when when you're drained, or, you know, flip on the TV and zoom out, or what is what you do when you're at the interview, what you do when you're at the job, what you do when you're, you know, if you're a realtor looking for clients, or you're making a presentation. Those are the activities that count. And that is how you build your net worth. And I like what you said earlier, it's on your net worth. It works together, right? So anything you want to circle back on that?
I think you did a great job there. Yes, I encourage people to take those steps. If you're serious about upgrading your life, you decided, hey, I want a little bit more for my life, I expect more out of myself, then yeah, definitely listen to more of this podcast and also check out my book.
Yes, awesome. All right, good plug. So, all right, so as we wrap up and as we close, I definitely want to thank Nick. It's been an enjoyable interview. Remember that if you like the content that I bring you every week, then please subscribe either to the YouTube channel, which is, you know, the Transform Your Mind, the podcast YouTube channel. Trying to build my channel right now. So would love for you to subscribe. Then you can watch us if it's convenient, instead of listening on the radio or the podcast. So secondly, if you are listening on the podcast, then of course, please subscribe. If you're an iTunes user, then I would appreciate a rating and a review as well. And if you're listening on any of the other podcast players, just subscribe so that you would have new episodes in your inbox every day. I also want to invite you to my life coaching group, which is a Facebook group. It's growing by leaps and bounds. And, you know, every day I post little, you know, inspiring messages, and, you know, all the other coaches that's on the group post inspiring messages. So if you're a coach as well, you know, come on and hop on. So it's a private group. It's called Life Coach. And there you can be inspired during the week. Now, also want to thank the sponsors for this episode. Again, you will find links to the sponsors on the show page, blog.myhelps.us. And final question, Nick. Yeah. As we wrap up, what is one thing that anyone listening can do today to transform their mind, whether introverted, whether it's networking? What do you think there's one thing that they can do today to, using your tagline, upgrade their lives, using my tagline, transform their mind and transform their lives?
All right. So one thing that you can do that'll really set you apart is if you go to any event that you were invited to by an actual host or hostess, an actual person invited you there, always follow up with a handwritten thank you note. And it doesn't take a whole lot of time. I know you have to get a stamp out and you have to write stuff down. So not an email, you actually write it down and you mail it to them. And what this does is almost nobody does this. It's super rare. So, you know how much you love getting letters in the mail, that it very rarely happens. So if you do this, you're going to really stand out. They are going to remember you forever. They will invite you to every other thing that they ever do because they say, this person appreciated me. They took the time to write me a handwritten thank you note. So just if you throw that in your tool bucket, and whenever anyone invites you to if it's just a dinner party or something like that, it could be something small, send them a handwritten thank you note, and it will make a huge difference in how you are perceived by others.
Yeah, that's awesome. I heard that years ago. I think, I'm not sure which book it was, but I'm going to throw a book out there anyway, because I think this is the one. And it's the book by Harvey McCabe. It's called Dig Your Well Before You're Ready. And it's probably a networking book too, is influencing, and he talks about the handwritten note. But you're right, a lot of people don't do it, and I can see that when you do it, you just stand out from the crowd. So that's amazing. All right, Nick, that was beautiful. Thank you very much. And wishing you much luck in your promotion and in your book, and we will definitely keep in touch. You're going to be part of my network now.
Yeah, I'm gonna join your life coach Facebook group.
Yes, for sure. Awesome. Right. I look forward to that. All right. So thanks for tuning in, and until next time, namaste.